It's finally that time. We've waited 7 years. Now we're going back to Hell's Kitchen. Happy Wednesday, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Daredevil, Born Again. Well, at least the first 2 episodes that are now on Disney+. 7 years waiting since Netflix announced the cancellation after season 3 of Daredevil. And this is a long time to be waiting, especially if you're a big fans of the show like I was. So let's just dive into this. I'm going to try to keep this pretty brief because there are some pretty critical things that happened in these first 2 episodes, and I definitely don't want to spoil those here. But be sure to subscribe to the Agents of M.a.c.e. podcast because we'll go in depth on all of the things later on next week. So let's dive into these first 2 episodes. So a lot of these first 2 episodes are build-ups, and a lot of this is really just honing in on what has happened in the past and where we're going into the future. And it does bring up a couple of concerns that I have, and I'll address those here. But let's just dive right into this. This definitely takes place after the events from the first 3 seasons. This is Marvel and Disney Plus trying to move this in a more, like, essentially a new direction and make this a standalone, but these first 2 episodes definitely pay homage to everything that we've seen. And that is one of the issues that we have, and this is typical with most Disney Plus properties, is that if you are not watching all of the series, especially the ones that will tie into this, you're definitely going to be lost because there's so many things that are mentioned that some people could just think it's some weird Easter egg, but if you are a fan of these series, you're going to pick up on it. So it's not just much watching the Netflix Daredevil series or even like the other series that are related to the Defenders, but it's also watching Hawkeye or Echo on the Disney Plus channel, so like you can know like where everything's going, especially when you deal with Fisk, aka Kingpin, and his character, because our 2 primary focuses here are going to be with Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk and what they're going through and what they've been going through, because Wilson Fisk, he has been away, and this is touched on. If you haven't watched, these other Disney Plus series, you're going to potentially be a little bit lost of like what's really going on, because there's a lot of references made, especially when we have a moment where Matt Murdock confronts Fisk and they sit down at a coffee shop or a diner and they have a conversation because things are brought up, whether it's dealing with Fisk's weight or where he's been or healing from a recovery. Like, these are pretty critical moments that you need to make sure you watch everything that leads up to this. And a lot of these first 2 episodes is kind of building on these moments from what's happened from the previous seasons, promises that were made, other characters. We do get a lot of other characters that we're familiar with coming back, but this is also setting up a lot of new characters. And what's really cool with this is they're comic accurate characters. They are business partners of Matt Murdock, or they are love interest, and the love interest mirror like what we've seen in the comics. Then we also have Wilson Fisk coming back, and this time he is going after becoming the mayor of New York, and that's what's really cool about this new season. I think that's a new thing we're going to get, is that it's going to be a little bit more politically driven. It's going to be Fisk going after the mayor, and then whatever he's going to do for New York, because we do know that there's still the crime, there's the 5 families, the 5 boroughs, so we know that like the crime is still there. There are references made to the vigilantes in New York, call out, so we do get some interesting call outs there. I won't spoil that here, but definitely pay attention because it definitely sets up how big this world is and who we potentially could get to see. But there is a very critical moment that happens in episode 1 that really is going to shape Matt Murdock as Daredevil and where this goes. And that's where I'm very curious to how this is going to play out through this first season, which is 9 episodes. And I'm very curious to see like how long we'll get to see him as Daredevil. It could be a critical part, or we may get more of a political crime drama style show. And that's what's really fun about these 2 episodes, is we get to see Matt Murdock more as a lawyer and in the courtroom with a particular case that goes on in the first episode. And that's where I'm fascinated with. I want to see more of that. I want to see like how they're gonna pull in other characters. The client that Matt Murdock has is the White Tiger, which is a superhero in the Marvel universe I'm not super familiar with. Did a quick research and it seems that it leans more towards a heroine, but this time we have a male playing it. So he does have a white outfit with an amulet that gives him some sort of abilities, which is pretty cool. So that's the kind of stuff I'm excited that we get to see more of as we get more of these characters and villains. Like, we know that Bullseye is going to have a moment in this. We've seen another character in here who's known as Muse. We have a lot of characters that are tied into family members that we've seen in the other seasons. So this feels like a very lived-in world, which is really cool. Now let's hop over to like the cinematography and the action real quick. We do get a pretty incredible like one-shot take, one movement take on a battle in episode 1 with Daredevil and Bullseye. So much of it is a nod to what we got to witness, especially the hallway scene from the season 1 of Daredevil. So the action is there, and Daredevil is definitely amplified because he's using his little battalion sticks to swing from building to building, very Spider-Man-esque, and all his flips and turns and the choreography, it is pretty awesome. There was some camera moments that I saw in episode 1 that I need to watch it again, because the first watch, to me, it felt a bit rushed or like incomplete. But maybe it's just, you know, this team is trying to give this its own new style and not carry over so much from these other seasons. So again, like, it's gonna be a love it or hate it thing. I'm gonna rewatch it. Maybe I'll like it. I don't know. I'm just curious if we'll see more of that coming through. But this, like I said, this world feels very lived in. The cinematography is there. The acting is there. The action that we get is there. So this definitely feels like we are back in Hell's Kitchen. We are back with Daredevil. We are back with these characters. And I can't wait to see where the rest of this season goes. I know so many reviewers have already gotten to watch the complete full season. So definitely, if you want to know ahead, I guess you can go subscribe to them and check that out. But I'll be covering this mostly through the Agents of M.A.C.E. podcast, so be sure to subscribe to that, linked below. Maybe I'll pop on here again and give more thoughts on this YouTube channel. But definitely go subscribe to that podcast, since we are Marvel exclusive and we'll be talking about all of these episodes week by week as they are released. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you watched Daredevil Born Again, especially these first 2 episodes, what did you think? Would love to know your initial thoughts in the comments below. Where do you think this season is going to go? Do you think this is going to lean more towards the courtroom side of things, maybe a little bit more political, or do you think we'll get more action, more of Matt Murdock as Daredevil? Would love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'll be back again very soon. Next up will be Mickey 17, so I can't wait to check that out tomorrow night. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.